This is a weird conversation.
Betrayal!
And dirty.
What is my hurt?
Oh, that. I'm sorry about that.
What the f?
For the past decade or so on this channel, a common theme that I always end up going back to is online creators who found success in the early days, couldn't adapt, and fell out of relevance when they didn't know how to compete. There are exceptions to this rule though, including Noah, aka Spoony, an early media reviewer that at one point went head-to-head with the likes of AVGN and Nostalgia Critic in terms of reverence. Even with a huge fan base and a decent chunk of money from ad revenue and Patreon pledges, at some point the creator halted production on his iconic video reviews even though he had plenty of people who wanted to watch, leading to a decade of delays, excuses, and illnesses, until this year when he officially gave up after 10 years of doing seemingly nothing with his life. With him officially throwing in the towel, I wanted to comb through all information known about this enigmatic individual, to see what truly caused the beloved critic to allow both his personal and public life to decay around him. But before we go any further in today's video, I just want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, FreeCash. To put it simply, FreeCash is an online app where users from all over the world can sign up for free and make money online by playing mobile games from different categories. As some people would say, it's a way to get easy beer money. Pretty much you go on the website and then look for opportunities to make money, whether it's testing out apps, playing games, or filling out surveys. For every single one of these tasks, there's a money amount attached to it and you could choose whether it's worth your while. And after you're done with the task, you could cash out the money in a myriad of ways, such as through an Amazon gift card or through your PayPal. The app has excellent reviews with a 4.6 star rating on Trustpilot. This has culminated in people making over $300 million USD from using the service. And I think that just goes to show how massive of a company this is. So if you want to try out FreeCash for yourself, click the link in the description down below or click the QR code on the screen right now. Noah Antwiler grew up in Arizona, where he spent his childhood developing a fascination with the early home computer games of the 80s and 90s, thanks to watching his brother play. When he grew older, Noah went to college and got a degree in computer science, but ended up dropping out of graduate school to pursue other passions. You see, it was during his time in school that Antwiler was hired by a comic magazine called Knights of the Dinner Table to write a film review column titled A Gamer's Rant on Movies.
When The Phantom Menace first came out, everyone loved it.
It was critically praised.
I hated it. I almost walked out of the theater. I wrote a review. I hated it. Hate mail. Universally. And that's when the guy actually hired me on, because it was the Howard Stern thing. I was like, I'm so sorry. People hate this review. I'll stop writing. I said, and he's like, are you kidding me? People are like subscribing like crazy because they hate you so much. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, but the thing is, I was right.
The exact timeline for this is a little fuzzy. While Noah claims his first Gamer's Rant review was published right after the release of The Phantom Menace, which was in 1999, all other reports show that he didn't start writing for the magazine until 2004. Perhaps this discrepancy comes from the fact that he was also posting reviews to his website The Spoony Experiments, under the pen name thespoonyone, or just Spoony for short. This name was a reference to the English localization of Final Fantasy IV, a particular favorite of Antwiler's. Regardless of the details, the Phantom Menace review and the reactions people had to it were still indicative of his online persona. His writings all had a tone of over-the-top harshness, seemingly trying to provoke an intensely negative reaction from the reader. This was around the time that the angry reviewer trope was just starting to become a thing, as people created exaggerated personas to tear apart popular nerdy properties. It's difficult to say how much of Spoony was a character and how much was Noah's genuine feelings. Based on interviews, he seemed to get a certain glee from trolling people, but at the same time he also had a real passion for the properties he critiqued. It was also during this time that online video became more accessible to the average person with the creation of YouTube. Noah saw this as the perfect way to expand his brand. Inspired by one of his favorite shows, Mystery Science Theater 3000, he formulated a concept where he and his friends would hang out and riff on bad movies and video games together.
My friends, they liked watching bad movies and all that stuff, and I was like, hey, do you guys want to watch bad movies and film us riffing them and watch these movies several times in a row, and they weren't that good for
With his original idea proving to be a dud before it even got off the ground, Noah decided to pivot. Instead of movies, his focus would be entirely video games, and he would do all of it on his own. On January 24th, 2007, he uploaded his first ever video to his YouTube channel, a review of the game The Adventures of Bayou Billy.
You know, the ghosts and goblins, they're a real challenge. They don't know what they're talking about, because I can guarantee you that nobody has beaten The Adventures of Bayou Billy fairly.
As Noah mentioned, even though his primary inspiration was MST3K, by uploading this review, he was also joining the ranks of other early online video pioneers like the Angry Video Game Nerd, and other exaggerated characters. When it came to his channel, Spoony took a slightly different approach than his contemporaries though. While most of the competition's videos were heavily scripted, Noah had a much more off-the-cuff, riff-heavy style, making him stand out from the crowd. An amusing added detail is that, back when the show was being conceptualized as a clone of MST3K, Antwiler had built a robot puppet so his series could be even more similar to the one he adored. But when his friends pulled out of the project, he no longer had anyone to bring the puppet to life. But he still decided to throw it into the background of his sets, and even though it didn't talk, Burton the robot became the mascot for Spoony's channel. The Bayou Billy review caught some attention at the time of its release, but Noah still existed in a state of relative obscurity. He was clearly frustrated by his inability to make headway in his chosen career path, which he talked about in a blog post on his website during this time. I don't know, somewhere along the line I got this stupid thought that maybe this writing reviews about goofy movies thing would pay off somehow. I tried pitching myself to magazines and getting a steady editorial job. I think I really deluded myself into thinking this was anything more than a hobby, and nothing would ever really come from it. So here I am. I have a stagnant computer science degree, a bad resume, no work experience to speak of, and a caustic personality. I spent so much time trying to land a job I'd like, I can't even get a job that I hate. Apparently, there's no market for angry movie critics who bitch about 20-year-old NES games. And now I'm whining about it like a f***ing emo to you guys about it. I'm really at the end of my rope here. I'm not sure what to do about it anymore. This is another example of it sometimes being difficult to tell where Spoony the character ends and Noah the human begins. From the very beginning, he has always been willing to share even his darkest, most vulnerable feelings with his audience. Nevertheless, he pressed on in spite of everything. In April of 2007, he uploaded the first part of his review for Final Fantasy VIII.
For those of you who can't speak Latin, the chorus is saying, real gay, sissy gay, 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 sissy gay, gay, butt sex, Astro Glide, glory hole, balls, teabag, shung.
Even though this was a beloved entry in the series, Noah was harsh in his criticism. This led to an intense backlash from fans of the game.
All of a sudden, my YouTube viewership was just, at the time, just amazing. So I think it was kind of the Howard Stern effect, where like people were watching and getting furious, and then showing their friends, like, "God, see what this prick is saying about Final Fantasy."
He became the Fox News of YouTube. For
Yeah. So I was essentially kind of trolling, and without meaning to, I was serious. I really hated this game, but I was like, as soon as I saw the hits, I was like, I gotta keep talking about this game.
As he continued uploading the subsequent installments of his Final Fantasy VIII review, Noah's audience grew exponentially. It turned out this was the break he needed. As time went on, the initial wave of angry fanboys gave way to a new group of people who genuinely clicked with Spoony's sense of humor. This is when his career truly got off the ground, and video production became his primary focus. In July of 2008, Noah wrote his final review for Knights of the Dinner Table. This seems to have been a mutual parting of ways, but an editor's note indicates that the reason for Spoony's departure may not have been entirely due to his shift to focus on YouTube. If the recent survey is accurate, most of our readers feel the rants was a bad fit for the magazine. I'm still scratching my head over that one, but the numbers are hard to ignore. As the editor of KODT, I have a responsibility to consider what readers want or don't want. Once Noah struck out on his own, though, trouble started almost immediately. 2008 was a rocky time for video game reviewers on YouTube, as the site had begun implementing new copyright policies that saw channels getting suspended by the dozen. Spoony decided to focus on his personal websites, cross-posting all his YouTube videos there. In addition, it was around this time that he was approached by Doug Walker and Mike Machad, owners of ThatGuyWithTheGlasses.com, aka Channel Awesome. They were assembling a group of internet critics for their websites, and they wanted Spoony to be their main source for retro game reviews. This was the final piece of the puzzle that took Spoony from niche success to one of the biggest faces in the world of online gaming. Not only that, but he was one of the major pillars of Channel Awesome, which was among the most popular sources of the entire internet for media discussion. He began appearing in the videos of several other creators from the collective, most notably Linkara and his show Atop the Fourth Wall. Noah played the villain called Dr. Insano, and continued showing up as the comic book reviewer's arch-nemesis.
Dr. Insano! I should have known you'd be the one behind this. Becoming President of the United States could never be enough for you!
Of course! And now, using the most powerful robot ever constructed, I will crush your pathetic armies and rule the world!
Eventually, Dr. Insano also began appearing in Spoony's videos as well. In hindsight, though, the details of his lore were very inconsistent depending on where he showed up. Within Noah's content, he was depicted as his own separate person, but in Channel Awesome crossovers like the anniversary movie Kick-Assia, he is shown to be an alternate personality of Spoony. I also want to add that within Spoony lore, Dr. Insano canonically used to be a woman.
Toyo ended up hitting a wall for like half an hour, and the only thing I got out of it was that Donna Troy got a new origin and Dr. Insano became a guy.
Dr. Insano was always a guy.
Yeah, just keep telling yourself that.
Anyway, in addition to his reviews, another one of Noah's collaborative efforts was a short-lived series called Spooning with Spoony. This was a mock interview series in which Antwiler had conversations in bed with various Channel Awesome contributors, with the joke being it all took place the morning after a sexual encounter that the person being interviewed does not remember. So from what I can tell, the gimmick of this interview show was that the person Spoony was talking to had to pretend like they were just date raped by him. As I said, this was a very short-lived series, only lasting a few episodes, and it even opened with a disclaimer about how it was done in bad taste, but it's still a bizarre piece of Spoony's online history. One other detail that adds to the strangeness is that one of the show's first guests was Lindsay Ellis, aka the Nostalgia Chick.
What is your problem? Look, I double bagged it, okay? Anyway, that's all the time we've got for Spooning with Spoony. Next week, I'm sure we'll have some more terrific guests. You stay sexy.
Self-respect. I don't either. I'm so ashamed of my body.
Be sure to catch you next time. Oh, hey, man.
I need to cuddle.
That's okay.
I want to cuddle too.
All right, come on. All aboard is what I say. The boat is
Daddy
sailing.
didn't love me.
Hey, Daddy loves you just fine.
In recent years, Ellis has distanced herself from Channel Awesome and has pursued a life as a breadtuber, meaning that she probably doesn't want to be associated with this kind of humor anymore. That makes it even funnier for me to show clips of it here.
What is my
Oh, that. I'm sorry about that. I got excited and it was dark. Besides that, I was trying out my new move, the Shocker.
One example of her pivot in style was a documentary titled The A Word, which detailed her experience having an abortion. There are some online who have speculated that the father of the unborn child was Noah, and that he had been adamantly against her decision to abort the pregnancy. From what I can tell, this is a very niche theory that seems to have started as a morbid joke since there is no actual evidence to support it. But I've seen it parroted on the internet enough times that I thought I should at least mention it here to say that it probably isn't true. Even though Spoony's star was on the rise, there were some other grievances people had with him that went beyond rumors and gossip. In December of 2009, he started making videos about another passion of his, professional wrestling. While there were many viewers who enjoyed these uploads, others felt alienated by them for a number of reasons. One, they were simple vlogs rather than the edited reviews that Noah was known for. And two, these fans had come to Spoony for gaming and movie content. They had no interest in wrestling, and Antwiler made very little effort to make these videos accessible to those unfamiliar with the sport. Despite the criticisms, Spoony continued on with the series, slowly forming a rift between him and a subsection of his audience. It was also around this time that Noah began dating a woman named Scarlett, who quickly also became very active in his career. She was a web developer who took it upon herself to revamp the Spoony Experiment website, and she was also an active moderator on his forums. Most of the content here has been lost to time, but according to active Spoony fans from this period, Scarlett had implemented some draconian policies which resulted in any form of criticism being met with an immediate ban. Noah himself was largely absent from the servers, only popping up on occasion to talk to fans and issue bans of his own. These were the first major cracks to start showing in Antwiler's online persona, as people began to realize he had a rather large ego. In 2009, he won the title of Funniest Person to Follow in Mashable's Online Web Awards, one of the many failed attempts to make the Emmys for YouTubers. For anyone else, this would have been an achievement worth celebrating, but Noah saw it differently. In response to his victory, he went to his website and wrote a blog post entitled An Appeal to Manners. The celebration is tainted a great deal for me because of a few bad eggs out there who continue to post cruel and hateful things on the blog and on the forums. I'm very, very upset right now. In fact, some of the comments lately have left me completely outraged. I've taken down my latest video and I don't intend to remake it, because honestly, I'm not in the mood. I don't feel like being funny, and you don't want to see me in front of a camera right now. I hope you'll all pay attention when I tell you this. This site has a bad reputation. The people I work with don't like when I post their videos here, because they tell me that the fans here are downright petty and childishly mean. If you can't learn to at least be civil, please leave. You're not wanted here, and you're making everyone else look bad. We're all here to have fun. Please try to remember that. This post was yet another polarizing decision. Some viewed it as Noah putting his foot down and demanding better from his audience, trying to weed out bad actors from his community. Others, meanwhile, believed that Noah had already been taking his fan base for granted, and he was now treating them with open contempt. A few blamed Scarlett for this shift since they saw her as a Yoko Ono-esque figure. But most of the people who had a problem with the direction things were headed put the responsibility firmly on Spoony himself. Mr. Antwiler was also making enemies of some of his Channel Awesome colleagues as well. In 2010, during the E3 gaming convention, he filmed a video on the show floor with his friend Angry Joe to talk about the newest entry in the XCOM series. Spoony had particularly strong feelings about this game, which he expressed at the top of his lungs.
Betrayal! What? Betrayal! Betrayed me! This game sucks!
This has gone down in history as one of Spoony's most iconic moments, but at the time many people viewed it as nothing more than an entitled gamer outburst. Not only did it irritate certain viewers, but it may have also affected the careers of his colleagues, at least allegedly. What needs to be understood is a couple of years later, the ex-Channel Awesome personality named Lord Cat claimed on a live stream that this incident had cost him a massive career opportunity.
Guess what happened, Spoony? The whole gaming industry turned its back on me. Not you, not Joe, not Blistered Thumbs, me. I went to GDC the following year, Spoony, and I had a chance to interview Notch. He was hot then. That was going to be huge for This Week in Games. And you know what happened? The representative at Mojang caught wind that we were going to interview Notch. And he stepped in, and he said, "Oh, I've heard of you. You're with that guy with the glasses. You're with Blistered Thumbs." And I tried to tell them, "No, I'm not." But he said my name was associated with them. And he heard what you did, making a fucking jackass of yourself at E3. You fucking moron. You just don't get it.
Now, it should be said that a lot of onlookers did not take Lord Cat's grievances seriously. Even if Spoony's actions had reflected negatively on him, it's absurd to think that one interview with the creator of Minecraft would have skyrocketed his career the way he seems to think it would have. To put it simply, he wanted to blame someone else for his own failures. Still, this is a clear example of Noah's behavior alienating him from his uptight channel awesome peers, and this was a trend that would only continue to get worse. Somewhere around 2012, Noah and Scarlett broke up. The details of the split are relatively unknown, but based on his tweets from around this time, it's safe to say the couple did not end on good terms. "A red dragon tore my heart out and ate it. I henceforth name this dragon Scarlett." There is one aspect of Spoony's life we know of that may have contributed to the breakup. As it turns out, it was also in 2012 that he was diagnosed with bipolar II disorder, which he has said caused him a great deal of trouble both personally and professionally.
What it basically is I have ups and downs, and the downs last for a couple of weeks. And really, it was remarkable I was getting anything done, because when you're in a depressive state, you really don't have any energy or motivation. In some cases, I was really sleeping. I was literally sleeping for about 14 hours out of the day. And you feel so lazy. But and the thing is, when you feel so lazy, you get depressed. And then all you want to do is sleep.
It had been known that Noah struggled with his mental health since even before he started making videos, but putting an exact name on his problem seemed to change something. Or perhaps it was the opposite, and he sought out the diagnosis because things were getting worse. Either way, this marked a noticeable change in his public behavior. As previously stated, Noah had been tweeting to his fans about his resentment towards his ex, but his use of social media was about to become much, much worse. On May 11th, 2012, he made a series of inappropriate tweets directed at another Channel Awesome member by the name of Jesu Otaku. "If things don't work out between you and Nash, I'd be happy to chain you to a pipe in a basement and love you. My way. My way of loving someone is dirty and painful and ends in tears." To this day, nobody knows what the hell he was thinking when he tweeted this. Fans of all the creators involved were shocked by what they had read, and yet another Channel Awesome member by the name of Allison Pregler, aka Obscurus Lupa, replied to the post stating, "That's not even funny creepy." As has been shown previously, Spoony was no stranger to dark sex jokes, but this had obviously crossed a line. He soon deleted the post and things seemed to calm down for a while. A month later though, Noah made another joke on Twitter that upset Allison, prompting her to once again bring up the previous offending tweet. This caused Spoony to completely crash out, as he went on a social media tirade about what he had done. "Is there punishment harsh enough for scum as loathsome as me? I really don't know what else I need to do. I've apologized. I've begged. Is it blood you want? Tears? I could rend my clothes asunder and wear sackcloth. Flagellate myself with a barbed whip? I can do it. I will. I mean, God, I made a bad joke. I'm sorry. I'm f***ed up. Jesu Otaku, Obscurus Lupa, I'm sorry already. Please take my penis, burn it. I'm worse than Hitler. I should roast in hell if there was a pit deep enough for my sin. I beg forgiveness, knowing full well I wouldn't be worth pissing on if my face was on fire." As you can imagine, things only got worse from there. The tweet and subsequent outburst resulted in Spoony receiving a 3-week suspension from Channel Awesome, although this was soon changed to be a permanent departure. In the official statement, the website's admins claimed that this was a mutual decision between all parties, but onlookers had their doubts. Most people believed that, while the initial joke was undeniably in bad taste, Spoony's response clearly showed that he was in a poor mental state and should have been treated with more patience. They also believed that Obscurus Lupa was just trying to dredge up old drama by bringing up the tweet a month after everyone else had already moved on. In an attempt to speak up in her own defense, Allison made a blog post titled, "The Uncomfortable Subject of Rape Jokes," in order to explain her reasoning. "Was I offended? Yes. Did I only say something a month later? Yes. And it doesn't matter. That doesn't change what it was. And I'm standing my ground on this. I was not too harsh to say something, and more people should speak up if they know something is wrong. It does not just involve the person the joke was about. I don't care if the person who said it is popular or more funny than I am. That doesn't make it right. It was a co-worker and a friend. Was this the only thing that set me off? Absolutely not. Was this the reason for what eventually happened? No. But this is what my deal was, and why I said what I said. There were others who pointed the finger of blame elsewhere. They noticed that Scarlett, who had remained friendly with other Channel Awesome creators even after her breakup with Spoony, had been thanking Lupa on Twitter in the midst of the controversy, although it's unclear what the exact context for this was. She also exchanged messages of love with a Channel Awesome admin by the name of Holly. All of this compounded to make some people believe Scarlett had conspired to get her ex kicked off the websites that had made him a star. For his part, Spoony completely denied that he had been fired and did not publicly blame anyone for what had happened. In his commentary track for the third Channel Awesome anniversary film To Boldly Flee, he reiterated the idea that it was his decision to leave, in some ways even implying that he viewed the website as a sinking ship, which was true to be fair.
Times are changing, and I'll get to this in a little while, but the handwriting's on the wall for critics in a lot of ways. This is all about, like, where we go from here. That's a major theme of this film is, what are we going to do when the bottom falls out of this? Because nothing lasts forever. And so, in many ways, I just didn't need Channel Awesome anymore.
Despite the massive upheaval, this was far from the end of Noah Antwiler's online career. In fact, 2013 was the year in which he uploaded some of his most popular videos ever, such as his review for the game of Phantasmagoria 2. He also continued working with his old Channel Awesome friends, so apparently he hadn't burned every bridge. On top of that, he began dating a woman named April, his first serious relationship since Scarlett. The couple even bought a house together in Illinois. All in all, despite the drama of the previous year, things seemed to be on the upswing for Spoony now that the dust had settled. With all of these recent wins, it only made sense to try and expand his operation. In 2014, he officially launched his Patreon account for fans to directly financially support him. Among his many perks and stretch goals, Noah made a promise that if he started making $5,000 per month, he would begin production on a feature film. This was a milestone that was met before the end of the year, which came as a shock to everyone, including Spoony himself. He uploaded a video expressing his gratitude and disbelief about what had happened, which gave some cause for alarm since he stated he didn't even have an idea for what the movie was going to be about. Even though they had been the ones to help Noah reach this goal, his fans were largely skeptical about the idea of a movie. He already had a bit of a reputation for being inconsistent and unreliable when it came to his upload schedule, and they believed that adding a new project to his plate would only make things worse. There were dozens of comments both on the YouTube video and on forums expressing these concerns. Well, it happened. Donations aimed towards helping someone make internet reviews have now officially given them an excuse to make less reviews. In fact, the movie is a disastrous idea. It'll never happen, and Spoony knows it will never happen. What he also knows, though, is that it will be at least 2 years or so before we can reasonably expect any sort of progress on a movie, which is 2 more years of a free ride courtesy of Patreon and his army of loyal chumps. Someone suggested that a way to provide content, Spoony could stream his work sessions. You realize that won't happen, right? He'd actually have to work then, because there would be evidence of what his schedule is really like. Keeping with his established patterns, any posts from people who were unhappy about the movie resulted in bans and deletions from Spoony. Things eventually got so bad that he disabled comment sections on almost all of his uploads. In many ways, this was the true make-or-break moment. Noah had enough goodwill from his audience to earn strong monthly revenue via Patreon, but that was also the very thing that risked losing their faith completely. He would have to lock in and deliver a truly great movie on top of the reviews that his audience had came to him for. Unfortunately, even his critics didn't realize how bad things would become. Across 2015, Antwiler started focusing much more heavily on live streaming in a series he titled Livewire. His fans were already becoming fed up with his growing reliance on unedited vlog-style videos to supplement his contents, and they viewed these streams as another step towards Spoony giving up entirely. In the entire year, he only uploaded one new fully scripted and edited review of the movie Massacre at Central High. Everything else was vlogs, re-uploads of older content, and streams which he broadcast to a progressively dwindling audience. That begs the question, how exactly was Noah spending his time if he wasn't working on his reviews, let alone a movie? Well, 2015 to 2016 saw a massive spike in his usage of Twitter. He would sometimes make hundreds of posts a day, usually talking about one of two subjects, his beloved dog Oreo or his hatred of Donald Trump. Politics seemed to have been the main thing driving his increased time on social media, as the 2016 election was not helping his mental health struggles. As if that wasn't bad enough, Noah was also apparently dealing with a lot of medical problems during this time as well, which he detailed in a series of tweets across 2016. I could break all of them down for you, but someone else has already done a much better job of that than I ever could, so I just want to play an extended clip of Spoony hater Mr. Medicare breaking down the timeline.
I call this my Spoony1 sickness timeline. You can see in 2009, he's just dealing with some basic stuff. In 2010, we've got the heart condition. Somewhere around 2012, he gets bipolar disorder and a staph infection in his nipples. Then we got 3 years of peace. Maybe God thought he punished him too much. I mean, a nipple staph infection is quite severe. So he gave him a 3-year break to acclimate to the nippleless life that he'll be living as he moves forward. And then in 2016, just everything goes fucking crazy. CFS, Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever, lupus, autoimmune disease, I'm just going to call it what that is, HIV, sleep apnea, shingles, kidney stone, acute bronchitis, followed up next year by panic attacks. You know, I can kind of understand where those panic attacks would be coming from. If I was diagnosed with 47 fucking horrific diseases all in 1 year, I'd probably be having some fucking anxiety too.
However much you choose to believe about his many ailments, it was obvious to everyone who followed him that something was seriously wrong with Noah. On February 15th, 2016, he uploaded his review for The Ring: Terror's Realm. Nobody knew it at the time, but this would end up being the final proper Spoony video as he devoted himself full-time to vlogging, live streaming, and most importantly, tweeting. Noah continued to promise that new videos were in the pipeline, although more and more people were seeing the writing on the wall. At the start of 2016, his Patreon revenue was around $2,000 a month, already a far cry from its peak just a couple of years earlier. And by the end of the year, that number had been cut in half. Spoony was keenly aware of the problems in his life, and in 2017 made an announcement that caused his remaining fans to believe there may be a glint of hope for the future. Time to see a psychiatrist. Not looking forward to it. I have not been doing well. I just can't get moving. Can't build up any momentum before depression drops on me like I've fallen into a tar pit. Seems hopeless. Whatever has gone wrong in my head has cost me a year. I know that. It's a big weight of guilt that gets worse by the day. Noah had previously been vehemently against going to see a mental health specialist, so the news that he finally decided he needed professional help was a massive relief for his audience, who were concerned about him. Soon he began posting about the strong antidepressants he had been prescribed. This was hopefully a step in the right direction, but it largely seemed to have had little effect on his online behavior. That July, in the midst of a panic attack, Noah began posting manically, talking about the current state of his career and finances. All I can think to do is hide in bed. Every time I do, I'm afraid that for some reason this time I just won't wake up. I just can't face the goddamn camera for some reason. I've been down here for months trying to get my head on straight, and I can't. Financially, this became an emergency 6 months ago, so I haven't been lacking for motivation. No idea what I'm going to do. Time is up. I'm out of money. I'm going to lose my house and everything else. This was understandably very distressing for Spoony's audience, who felt like there was nothing they could do other than watch him self-destruct. His financial problems could have been resolved by just, working, but he seemed unwilling. Things weren't much better when it came to his only other remaining avenue for interacting with his fans, live streams. Noah was incredibly confrontational, banning anyone for even the slightest annoyance. Usually these were people trying to give him advice, either about how to get his career and mental health back on track or simply giving him pointers for the video game he was playing. One example of this was his playthrough of Alien Isolation, where he died over and over while refusing to listen to anyone telling him what he was doing wrong.
No, okay? Dude, I'm not switching to my pistol. It's not going to work! It's not gonna work! Shut the f*** up! Druins, you win a ban. Emberblade, don't tell me how to play the game.
Shortly after signing off, Spoony also went on a lengthy tirade about how much he hated the game on Twitter. The VOD for this stream was quickly deleted from his channel, as was the case with pretty much every archive of a stream that made him look bad. All of this went to show that whatever medication he was on wasn't helping him to reach a healthier mindset. This all culminated in a particularly infamous tweet from December of 2017. Let this be an important lesson. Your health insurance doesn't give a piss whether or not I kill myself, or how many people I take down with me. You don't need me to tell you that this was an incredibly alarming message, seeming to imply that Noah's insurance had stopped covering his medication. Twitter's moderators interpreted these words accurately as a threat of violence, prompting them to suspend Spoony's account. Even though this was not the direction people had hoped the situation would go, at the very least this might curb his social media addiction. Without Twitter, Spoony's only interactions with the outside world came in the form of his live streams, but those two were becoming less frequent. Due to his recent behavior and his disheveled appearance during some of these streams, there were some in his audience who believed he had started abusing alcohol, although this is mostly just speculation without much evidence to back it up. More pressingly, clips from sources like the Alien Isolation playthrough were attracting trolls to his streams, who wanted to get similar reactions out of him as a lolcow.
You guys are all pissing me off, and I'm trying to enjoy the fucking whimsy of this place.
This is where I have to go on a brief tangent. What needs to be understood is that Noah's older brother Miles is a sheriff's deputy in Arizona. Way back in 2011, he was involved in a shooting that resulted in the death of an undocumented immigrant by the name of Felipe Ramirez Castellanos. According to reports, he was armed and had already committed a violent crime. To make the situation even more odd, Miles worked under Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio, an incredibly controversial figure who had been accused of racial profiling, convicted of contempt of court, and subsequently pardoned by Donald Trump. Due to Noah's well-documented hatred of the 45th president and support of immigrants, rabble-rousers began spamming his chat with the message, "Juan but not forgotten," in reference to the killing. These obviously all resulted in bans, and Spoony never gave them the explosive reactions they were hoping for, but the whole situation just demonstrated how people were rapidly losing sympathy for the live streamer, and were increasingly viewing him as nothing more than a joke. In early 2019, Antwiler was involved in a car accident. As shown in the police body cam footage, the exact details of what happened were disputed. Witnesses claim that he failed to stop at a red light, but Spoony denies that version of events.
2 witnesses that said you ran the red light, besides not even these guys.
I'm gonna tell you it's not true. I had the green light.
Okay, one of them has a dash cam, so.
Okay.
In a later live stream, Noah also claimed that the incident left him with broken ribs, despite the fact that he said he felt fine in the body cam footage. This discrepancy once again caused detractors to accuse the former game reviewer of drinking, abuse, and lies in order to farm sympathy from his shrinking audience. In fairness, though, it's very common for people to suffer injuries in car accidents and not feel it until a while after the fact due to adrenaline. Regardless of who was at fault, this only drove Spoony deeper into a financial hole with car repair and medical bills to worry about. With the direction things were going, disaster was all but inevitable. To make matters worse, later in the year, the suspension on Noah's Twitter account was lifted. This is when fans were given a few disappointing updates on his life, most notably that his house had been foreclosed upon. He later confirmed that he would be moving back to Arizona, presumably to stay with his brother Miles. "I am not in therapy, have no desire to see a therapist, and you'd have to drag me in a straitjacket before I saw one. And once I get back to Arizona, I imagine getting fitted for a straitjacket can't be far off."
Oh, hey, you gave in to the madness. That's awesome.
The additional detail that he was not seeing a therapist and was unwilling to change that only served to worry his followers even more. Over the course of 2020, a year that was already miserable for the majority of the population, Noah continued posting more updates about the various ways his life had deteriorated. It did not come as much of a surprise when he told his followers that April had left him, since she had not been part of his online presence for a while at this point. She left behind all the pictures we took together, left behind stuff I got her for her birthday, like they meant nothing. At the very least, she had let him keep their dog Oreo, who remained to be the only joy in Noah's life. But that joy was clearly not enough to sustain him, as he continued posting into the void, talking about his various health problems and just how miserable he was in general. At this point in his life, Spoony seemed to be spending 100% of his time either on social media or playing video games, but at least he was forced to get some fresh air and exercise by walking the dog. Things took a tragic turn in 2021 when Oreo passed away. It goes without saying that this was devastating, and the biggest loss in Noah's life since his significant other April. His supporters worried that this could cause him to spiral even further than he already had, and since he consistently refused any help or advice offered to him, all they could do was wait with bated breath to see what happened. Thankfully, later in the year, Spoony adopted a new dog called Thaco, filling the hole in his heart that Oreo had left. The name is apparently a reference to Dungeons & Dragons that I quite frankly have no interest in learning about further. Even with this new addition to his family, Noah was still in a bad space. He continued tweeting constantly about how miserable he was, and his streaming schedule had slowed considerably. Even with how far he had fallen and how frequently he had snubbed any offer for help, friends from his former life still occasionally spoke up to offer support and comfort. But every time, Spoony slapped their hands away, unwilling to accept the idea that things could change. Eventually, though, someone was able to get through to him.
Is the dude actually following my cursor? What am I doing here? It's like, well, anytime now.
Paul Morgan Stetler is an actor, and one of his most well-known roles was Curtis, the main character of the game of Phantasmagoria 2. In later years, after the title became a cult success, he started a YouTube channel called Conversations with Curtis, in order to talk with his castmates and online personalities who had played the game. Because Spoony's playthrough of the game was one of his most popular uploads, Stetler reached out and asked if he'd be willing to appear on the show. Surprisingly, despite the fact that he had rejected nearly everyone else who had made similar offers, Noah agreed, and the interview was uploaded on October 31st, 2022. Both the comments section of the video and the chat of the subsequent live stream were filled with words of encouragement from Noah's fans, who hoped that this could be the push he needed to finally get back into content production. Even if it wasn't, maybe it could at least help him stop wallowing in his own misery and begin to pick up the pieces of his life.
And so the fact that I was able to make a living making fun of games and talking about video games, it's so remarkable, especially today, that's their entire career.
You know, it sounds to me like there were a couple people doing that when you first started. Is that right? That you were sort of, you know,
I wasn't the first, but I was among the first,
right,
to become really popular. I don't think anybody, even the people who were doing it at the time, were doing it to make a living that way.
Yeah.
They had a popular show, but this was before very big YouTube ad revenues or anything like that. This was before YouTube even really was something that had ads.
Spoony also seemed to enjoy the experience a great deal, and became a semi-frequent guest on the Conversations with Curtis channel over the following years, all while maintaining an admittedly irregular streaming schedule on his own. Even his social media posting became much more focused on the games he was playing and movies he was watching, rather than his mental health struggles and the president. On February 25th, 2025, Noah officially announced that he was abandoning Twitter. Thank God. Sadly, this was only due to the fact that he would be migrating to Blue Sky, where things proceeded as normal. Later that year, he suffered yet another emotional punch to the gut when his mother passed away. Even people who had no sympathy for what Noah had gone through in the past several years put aside whatever contempt they held for him in order to mourn the loss. This was the reality of the situation. Spoony was now well into his 40s, and the few people in his life were getting older as well. Even though his sad posting had slowed down considerably, he still wrote occasional updates reiterating his lack of any real community. My brother has expressed concern to me over this. I never leave the house, never socialize, and have absolutely no social life. He's not wrong, but I have no idea how to fix the problem. Making friends at my age when I basically have no job is basically impossible for me. Any confidence he may have gained from conversations with Curtis was either short-lived or simply not enough to push him over the hill. Noah's claim that he, quote, basically had no job called into question exactly how he was supporting himself and how much financial assistance he was receiving from his family. His Patreon remained open, and even though he hadn't updated it since 2016, he still brought in around $100 a month. His Ko-Fi page also saw the occasional donation thrown its way from supporters, who continued to hold onto hope that things could get better, even when all evidence pointed to the contrary. 2026 marked the 10-year anniversary since the last Spoony review. His streaming schedule, as sparse as it was, satisfied his fans somewhat, but he was still asked on a daily basis to make a grand return to video production. It's kind of amazing to consider that his absence had lasted longer than his time actually making reviews, but there were still people holding out hope that he would one day come back. That's why it came as such a blow on June 18th, 2026, when Spoony made a disappointing yet inevitable announcement. It's been over 10 years since I've produced any video content or done, well, anything with my life really. I've been nothing but a burden to my family and you guys for all that time. I think perhaps it's time to admit to myself what you've all probably known for years now, that I'm done. I've struggled for years with this, and I've tried. I really have. But even if I did come back, the culture and the platforms available have made it so that content production for me is basically impossible, and not a viable career option by any stretch. I don't know what to do with my life anymore. The truth is that I've been useless to everyone ever since I parted ways with April. The breakup destroyed me, and that's entirely on me for not being able to deal with it. The only thing that's brought me any solace is in raising my dogs, and I'm fully aware of how pathetic and sad that truly is. I'm at a loose end with my life now. Video production was all I was ever any good at. It was all I ever wanted to do, and now I can't even face getting in front of a camera anymore for all the feelings of shame and inadequacy I feel. I just don't know what to do except thank you all for your support. So thank you. Thank you all for your belief in me and all the years of loyalty, even though the years of troubles and even though I didn't deserve it. Thank you for giving a bum like me the chance to make you laugh and forget all your cares for a while. It was an honor to be a guest in your home. At the time of writing, this is Noah Antwiler's latest message to the outside world, as he has stayed uncharacteristically silent on social media since then. Dozens of people reached out to offer reassurance, the most amount of engagement any of his writings on Blue Sky have received. But even though he hasn't said anything, we do have some confirmation that he's still alive, since he updated his public Amazon wish list a few days after posting the thread, so at least we can still buy him stuff. At the end of the day, I have trouble feeling much sympathy for Noah. This is a man who was naturally talented and born in a time of great opportunity, but squandered it for no good reason. His final message is almost irritatingly self-defeatist, throwing in the towel at life at the age of 45 with nothing to show for it. He claims he can't bring himself to make a giant long-form projects, but nothing is stopping him from making short-form videos to dip his toe back into the water. Make a 60-second vertical vid in a day, try it out, and go from there. He says that the space has changed, so YouTube is no longer a viable career option, but he hasn't even tried. Plenty of his contemporaries like Red Letter Media, AVGN, and Nostalgia Critic are still going strong, and beyond that, it's not like he has any other work prospects. The fact is, this is all a slap in the face to all those who have supported him for the past 10 years, and the thousands who could only dream of having the head start he had. The story of the Spoony is a tragedy, a talented and charismatic internet figure brought down by the demons within his own mind. But despite how many bridges he burned and how antagonistic he acted towards his fans, he still maintained a community of diehard supporters who stuck with him through thick and thin. It's unclear how much he appreciated that, and even less clear what the future holds for him besides rotting away in his own self-pity. The last decade has been rough for Noah, for reasons both in and out of his control. It's a downfall unlike any other internet figure. That being said, I believe it's never too late for a person's life to improve, and hopefully that can happen with Spoony, even if it's very, 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 very unlikely.